Welcome to GabTalks, where we provide tools, tips, and techniques to help your life and business be easier, better, and faster. Hello, hello. How are you today? I am Gabriella, and this is our next episode of GabTalks Success Tips with Experts. And today I am so incredibly excited. I get to bring to you our next expert, Bill McCarthy. Hey, Bill, how are you today?
I'm great.
Awesome. So, Bill, before we were recording, we had this amazing conversation. Will you please tell our audience what it is that makes you the expert that you are?
Well, it's because I've written this book, and the book is all about the power of intention. I have been using that in my life for more than 50 years. Now, I started off not knowing I was using that, but these miraculous things kept happening as I would trust my feelings, trust my gut, trust the things I was seeing in my life and projecting, and then they would all manifest, one after another after another. So I didn't start out to be an expert or even thought I was an expert, but here I am.
Wow. So, will you please tell our audience what it is in your background and history that got you to where you are today? You have such an interesting story.
Well, I went to Woodstock, and I've been studying to be a history teacher. I went to Woodstock. I went back home to my hometown because it was summer break, and because I was encouraged by some friends, just because I had been to Woodstock, that I could produce a concert. Myself and two other people came together, and in less than a month, we produced a concert for 10,000 people in our city with 10 unknown bands. It was the biggest thing that had ever happened in that city. So that was like the beginning. That was like a group intention. And from that, I moved to San Francisco and moved into more personal, manifestations.
Wow. And then from that, you started working with nonprofits and producing all kinds of other events, many events that we all have heard of and know about. Is that correct?
That is correct. I mean, the 20th anniversary of the Summer of Love, the 30th anniversary of the Summer of Love, those are some, Earth Day, so many events. And that, what started it all is when I went to San Francisco, inspired by my favorite band, which was Jefferson Airplane, which became Jefferson Starship. I had this vision that I could work with them to put on this Unity Festival to bring all the organizations of the Bay Area together. So we started calling all these organizations. Remember, we'd never done anything like this in San Francisco, and I didn't even know how to get to the band. So anyway, we started pulling this thing together. Someone who knew the band called them. They said yes, they were going to do it. And then 3 weeks before, Miracles hit #1 on the charts. They were the biggest band in the world, right at the same time as our event was going to happen. So
Wow.
they originally backed out because they wanted to do Miracles too. They'd never had a #1 hit, even as the Airplane never had a #1 hit. So I got a telephone number to call their office, and I talked to this woman, Cynthia Bowman, who was their publicist. I wouldn't have even known what a publicist was. And I just poured my heart out, and I said, they've got to be there. All these groups are coming together because of them. And so she said, well, I'll talk to them and see. So
Wow.
we're having a meeting to break it down a little bit because it's not going to be as big an event. We get a phone call. Jefferson Starship has agreed to perform, and they're bringing the Grateful Dead with them. They both showed up. 50,000 people showed up to our very first event in San Francisco.
That's
So
amazing.
after that, it was like one event after another, after another, after another. And I realized as long as I'm focused, as long as I trust my heart, trust my feelings, trust the inspiration, things will happen.
So I'm a little bit of a fangirl here with you, Bill, because when I was a kid, concerts in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco at the Polo Fields was a big deal. And I remember my mom taking us out to the Polo Fields. And then when I was a young adult, they continued to having them. And I lived in a place where all I had to do was open my door, and the Polo Fields was 5 blocks away. So whenever they would have concerts, I got to have got to listen to these concerts with these amazing bands, and you actually were part of the one that put those on. So
Yeah,
for me, I'm just kind of fangirling a little bit over what you put out there that I got to enjoy as a kid. So thank you.
my pleasure. My pleasure. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of inspiration for me. I would like to ask you about what was the major influences on you that created inspiration to lead you down this path to this amazing expertise and experience that you brought to life.
Well, I've always had a passion to serve, and I always had a feeling that people were all the same and that we needed to be united. And so that's why we created the Unity Foundation 46 years ago. And we work with the UN on specific projects, as well as organizations around the world. We do things that we have a television show in its 25th year called Positive Spin that presents positive news from all over the world. And you can see it almost anywhere in the United States. We also have 5 international webcasts for Women's Day, Earth Day, Refugee Day, Peace Day, and Human Rights Day. And that reaches millions of people around the world, also with positive news, people that are making a change in the world, people are coming together to create a better world for everyone.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Hello, hello, awesome listener. Thank you so much for joining us today at GabTalks Success Tips from Experts. We're going to take a short break and take a moment to thank our sponsors. It is because of their generous support that we are able to bring to you all of these amazing experts, where we're able to interview them and get their best success tips for you. So please take a listen to what our sponsors have to say. Global Prosperity Academy, GPA, is a community of like-minded individuals that are heart-centered and mission-driven, focusing on high-level communication training, leadership development, and strategic community building. Take a look at the video in the link below and see how GPA is right for you. You've all heard and you know how powerful it is to send thank you cards, notes of appreciation, and gifts that build and maintain relationships. However, writing and sending generic impersonal greetings and gifts one by one just is so overwhelming and takes so much time. Not to mention, these days, who wants to deal with lines at the post office, running out of stamps, or having to print stamps yourself? And then there's the embarrassment of missing an important date altogether. Yikes. So what can you do? If you go to marketyourbiz.guru, you will be able to get help with your greetings and gifts that are printed, stamped, stuffed, and mailed automatically for you. Make sure that you tell them Gabriella sent you. So, Bill, here we are. You have lived an amazing life and a very long and broad career. You just mentioned 46 years ago that you created this this nonprofit group that you are part of. If you were to go back to that younger self that went and put on that first concert, and were to give that younger self one piece of advice that you would change or do something differently that would propel you closer to success much faster, what would that be?
It would have been having more confidence in myself. Because when I was younger, I was kind of a very withdrawn kid, very self-conscious. And that I'm able to go from that point to this point is really a miracle. But the bottom line is, what I would love to show people is that they have that confidence inside them. Everybody has that kernel of the power of intention, which we all have. I mean, everything is energy. So it makes sense that if you put out energy and you put out enough energy, you're going to draw that thing to you, which you want. It's very simple.
So speaking of, I know you wrote a book and I am super excited to get the opportunity to read it. And I can't wait for my personally signed copy to arrive in the mail. I would like to open up the floor to you to share with our audience your tips that you would give to people to help them reach success.
Okay, well, wonderful. I mean, and I think it all starts with confidence. And so many of us have so much problems with confidence, and especially as we get older. Because, in our earlier days, if we don't have confidence, I mean, I was bullied when I was a kid because I was really overweight and didn't
Mm,
have friends and so on and so forth. So,
yeah.
uh, building on that confidence, and the way that I think you build on that is you listen to yourself. We're so busy listening to everybody else. Your mother's telling you should do this, your father's saying you should do this, school is saying, but what about you? What about you yourself? And when you begin to hear yourself, begin to hear what's in you, you begin to get cues. I mean, for instance, like I'm very aware now. If I'm going down the street or something like that, I'm always like searching. I'm looking at the billboards. I'm looking, I'm trying to get this overview because you know what? Sometimes one of those things is going to spark in you the next thing that you need to do in your life. It's as simple as that. I mean, I have a friend, who started a whole business, and it was serving women entrepreneurs. She'd never done anything like that before, but she saw a billboard that mentioned that, and next thing you know, she's doing it. So we need to keep our antennas up, because the universe is sending us messages all the time, but we're just not seeing them.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's really incredible. I hadn't thought of it in those terms. So I like that a lot. Do you have any other thoughts that you want to share with our audience?
Well, the other thing is that the power of intention, when you begin to use it, can over deliver.
Oh,
My desire was to get the Jefferson Starship to perform. I didn't have no desire about them bringing the Grateful Dead with them. That was an over performance. When you're in touch with the energy, it can overperform. So you need to
oh.
really be aware of that. And then the other thing that it can do is sometimes you have a goal and you think that's the goal that you want, but you get there and it didn't happen. And then a week later or a month later, something even bigger happens having to do with the same thing. When I
Ah.
when I went to LA, when I first got there, had this plan. I was going to do this. LA welcomes the the Olympics because it was the year of the
Huh.
Olympics.
I
Okay,
remember that.
but I hadn't even been to LA. I was just the moment I got to LA, I thought I could pull this thing off. And what I was going to do is I was going to have 8 days with different cultures, at the Santa Monica Civic. No, 7 days, 1 week. That didn't happen. But right after that didn't happen, somebody hired me to produce 8 days at the Santa Monica Civic with all of these same kind of groups that I would have had on my show. So where's that come from? That comes from the intention being strong enough that is even saying, you know what, I want to give you a little bit more than what you're asking for here. You just have to be open.
Ah, being open is a big thing. That's something I've put a lot of time and effort into learning how to do better in the last few years. That is a fabulous tip. I love it. All right, so we're coming pretty much to the end of this interview. I know you wrote a book and you're teaching people with what you've written in the book. So will you please let our audience know where they can find out more information about you, where they can connect with you? And don't forget, all of the links are going to be down below in the show notes and in the description. So Bill, where can they find your book? What's the name of it? Where can they reach out to you?
Sure. Well, the name of the book is You Can Escape the Box and Live a Life of Miracles. And the subtitles is Lessons Learned from a Woodstock Journey. And
Nice.
it became a #1 bestseller on Amazon. So you can get it on Amazon. And I can be reached, probably my email address would be the best, which is foundation, the number one, at AOL.com. And I'm developing a course, which probably will launch in a few months, not quite totally there yet, where I want to be able to teach people, the values in the book. Because the book, every chapter has a different tool that people can use to become more of a manifester in their life.
Nice. Are you on social media where they can reach out to you on LinkedIn or Facebook?
I have a personal Facebook account, but I don't have anything set up for this yet. So I think the best thing is probably the email. Oh, and they can always go to unityfoundation.world to find out about Unity Foundation, and positivespin.world for the Positive Spin television show. And finally, for the webcast, the international webcast, peacechannel.com.
Excellent. So we will have all of those links in the notes below and in the description. Please go click on those, reach out to Bill, see what he's doing. He is such an amazing guest today. I am so delighted that we were able to interview you. Thank you so much. And we will see you all at the next episode. Hey, thanks so much for watching. We hope you got value today. We want to give a huge shout out of gratitude to our contributors. Please make sure you click the subscribe button below, and don't forget to click the bell up above to get reminders when we add new content.